Hey kids, and welcome to the show. So, I wanted to give you guys an update. Recently, about a week ago now, I was attacked by some bees, and rightly so. And because I'm a beekeeper, and I did something that made them very mad. And yeah, anyhow, I ended up having to take one of my medications, or I took an EpiPen. I ended up in the ER, and having the EpiPen in me was pretty intense and scary because I had never actually had an EpiPen before, and to feel my chest start to increase. I basically get every side effect to every medication, and it sucks. So it was scary. I was in the ER, and the nurse, God bless him, he was putting the epi in me, and I just told him immediately. I said, something doesn't feel right. And I started to breathe heavy, and my chest started pounding. My heart rate went up, which went up to 75 is all it went up to. I have a pretty low resting heart rate. I'm doing really good. I've got it down to low 60s. So anyhow, that 15 beats made a big difference. And my head started to hurt, and it felt kind of like there was a long time ago I had to take some nitroglycerin because I thought I was having a heart attack, and another story. But I wasn't having a heart attack, and if you take nitro, it makes your head really hurt. And anyway, pretty miserable experience. That is a long way to get to what I want to talk about. And what I want to talk about is I've been on prednisone. I just got off of prednisone. And prednisone is one of my allergies. It's one of the medications that's probably the worst, and probably the first one that I found out about. It's a steroid. And it's hard to describe. Some people have these psychological reactions to medications. Some people have physical reactions to medications. Well, here's what I had. I have a lot of the mental reactions. For example, with opiates, I have a medication-induced depression, which means I take a Percocet or something, and I get super depressed, and among other things. So it's really dangerous for me to take those. And same with a lot of the antidepressants. So what I'm going back to is I was on steroids, and I'm just coming off of them, and it's a horrible experience. But this time around, I had a lot more clarity. For those of you guys that know me, know that one of the treatments that I started a little over a year ago was marijuana, cannabis, however you want to call it. You can call me a pothead, a hippie, or whatever. But because of what the medication was doing to me, I had to stop. I had to do something different. And I started to substitute other vices for the ability to pay for it. And there was something really cool that happened as I was able to get all those medications out. Like I told my doctors, like, I really have a problem. I'm not getting relief of pain. It's making me depressed. I can't function like this. And my doctor said, get your card and let's do this. So just so you know, I am talking to a doctor. I'm not just running out there and willy-nilly. There is a medical provider monitoring my blood and everything, and we're having really good success. The success that we're having is these emotional flare-ups don't happen when I'm using the cannabis. Now listen, it is not for everybody. 100% not for everybody. And I tell my kids, I tell them constantly, I say, you know what? This isn't good for me. I'm inhaling smoke into my body. And I tell them, the end goal is to get my everything else under control. Now, an update on my health. I was taking 30 pills when I started the cannabis. And those were pain pills. They were, just pain pills, antidepressants, all kinds of stuff. And it seemed like every time I got sadder, they just threw another pill at me. Or if I complained about ache, they threw another pill at me. It got to the point where I was just on so many pills that I was lethargic, and I wasn't caring. So I slowly started to wean off all those pills, and slowly going through all those withdrawals. And it was horrible because, again, I have psychological reactions. When I say I'm addicted, I was addicted and I had a problem with opiates. I hate saying addiction because it I feel like my story lessens the story of the men and women I've worked with out on the street. Um, in that, even though I was chewing these pills and I couldn't get enough of them, I was seeking pain relief. So once I was able to get the pain relief, I was able to kick the pills really easily, and I haven't taken any since. So I, 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 I hesitate to say it's an addiction, but I treat it as such because I don't want to get into the pills again. So I treat it as an addiction, but I want to be really clear because there's so many people in my family that I love, so many friends that really have gone through some really horrible things with their addictions. I don't want to lessen their journey. So what I had a problem with more than the pain pills, because the cannabis gave me more relief than the opiates ever did, as far as the pain and the neuropathy and the arthritis. It just took all that pain away, which is pretty awesome because most medications you can't. The reason it's able to take the pain away, because it kind of worked the same way for me, and everybody's different, but with a Percocet, let's say a Percocet or an Ox, let's just say any uh, pill X. I'm just going to say pill X because it doesn't matter what pill is. It's made in a lab. Okay, so pill X. So you take pill X, and in 6 hours you can take pill X again, but in 3 hours you're hurting again. And then you start thinking to your Tylenol box and saying, well, it says 4 to 6 hours, so 4 hours, 3 hours is close enough to 4. So you start bargaining with yourself because you're never getting the relief. The good thing about the cannabis with someone that's got full body pain like I do, and the neuropathy, and people, I would say, I don't know, I'm not a doctor. Talk to your doctor. But there were so many different things that my doctor's treating that it's impossible to treat it all and then do the muscle relaxers and then do the treat for neuropathy. So cannabis, what does cannabis do for me? So it takes away the pain. If I hurt, I can take another dose of cannabis. With an opiate, if you hurt, you have to wait for the other dose, so you're always trying to catch up to the pain if you're in chronic pain. So that is one of the reasons I like cannabis. The other thing I found was, in that state of being stoned or euphoric, I realized that I was actually getting more clear. But the pills I was still taking, the depression pills, and I just don't want to name those, pill XYZ, those were just like stopping things. They were clouding me. They were making me not care. They were basically, they weren't making me feel better. They weren't making me happy. They were just making me not care. And that's the worst thing for someone, because when you don't care, then you just kind of spiral into this depression, and then these little triggers will just pop. And then, you end up either hurting someone you love, hurting yourself, whatever that might be. So that never happened to me on cannabis. Again, everybody's different. Talk to your doctor. This is just my experience. So I was able to say, you know what, I'm going to start taking these pills. And I talked to my doc, and we still slowly started taking all those depression pills down. And every time I took one out of my system, it was like fighting a war over again. It was scary. And I had to do that many times. I haven't even counted. I'm too scared to count because it was really hard to come off those pills. And in some cases, we had to call ambulance services. We had to call the police because I'd passed out in the lawn, or I'm just having panic attacks, and I'm just too big of a person for Rachel to carry. And throughout this, I couldn't understand why all this was happening. And then the ice storm happened, and I was able to wean myself off the last one. And it was tough. And as I sat in that ambulance with the sheriff, the sheriff's deputy, and all they could say was, "You could do it." So, not only do I have a great support group from my family, but my community too. So, why do I make this video? Because there's a lot of people hurting out there, and this is mostly for my vet guys. So many people hurting with addiction to pills. I'm happy to say that I had dental work, and it might not seem like a big deal to some people, but I had dental work, and I didn't even think to ask for a pill. And I'm not saying you should be going out there getting high and getting in the car and driving someplace, but if you are homebound and you are hurting and you are feeling like you're out of options, cannabis might be a really good choice for you. And having had to take this prednisone and to have the withdrawal experience and those things again, just reminded me that there are some really horrible chemicals out being produced by people we don't know, being put into these little pills and sent to us. Most of the time they're okay. Sometimes they're contaminated, and that's not malicious. It's just, sometimes you get food poisoning at a restaurant. But with something that if you take too much of, it's going to make you fall asleep, over something that if you take too much of it, it's going to make your heart stop beating. If you have the option, get your medical card and do it. If you can't do it in your state, talk to your legislatures. Petition people. It's a great treatment, in my opinion, for someone who has opiate addictions or has negative and adverse reactions to opiates and other medications. It's a safe alternative for me. And now there's a caveat. Unlike opiates where pill X is pill X and nobody else makes pill X, or there's a generic version of pill X and it does the same thing that pill X does. With cannabis, there's these different strains. So you do have to educate yourself a little bit, because some strains will just lay you out on the couch and you won't even be able to do anything. Like the commercials when we were kids, and they talked about, did they just say no commercials? Psh, yeah. Anyway, those will flatten you out. And there's strains that will make you jump up and hurt yourself because you have so much energy. So think about it, study it. How do you pay for it? Because it's expensive and insurance doesn't cover it. For me, I said, if I'm going to pick up a vice, I'm going to get rid of one. So I said, well, I can just stop drinking sodas. And then it was energy drinks. And then all of a sudden that budget added up. And I was able to not only pay for the amount of marijuana I used, but save a whole bunch of money and put towards our family. So depression causes you to be more depressed. And there's a couple takeaways here. If you're sad, talk to somebody. It doesn't matter who it is. If you need a professional, talk to a professional. If you don't need a professional, talk to a friend, but talk to somebody. Don't be scared to tell somebody you're depressed, because I never want you to think you can't call me if you're scared or alone. You always have somebody here. All right, with that, pretty emotional one today, but I just wanted you guys to know that I'm doing good. Swelling's down. I can finally shave well. No more bee stings. And I didn't have to even think about any pain medication, which was really great. So anyway, as you go throughout your day and throughout your life, always remember that there's a few things people can never take away from you. One is your education, and two is your sense of worth. And for me, I have trouble seeing what my self-worth is, but I'm figuring it out. So I want you guys to figure it out too. You're all worthy. I'm worthy. We just need to make sure that we remember that God came here, and that's what makes us worthy. So work hard, be kind, and have fun.